This week on Unscripted, we've more news on WWE's new TV deals and is 205 Live and NXT in these deals. When will Lesnar's next title defense be? And is WWE embarrassed by a current title holder? This and more on the future #1 podcast right here on YouTube.com. This is Unscripted. What's going on, everybody? This is the Frost, and we're here for episode 22 of Unscripted for June. That's right, we're in June, ladies and gentlemen, June 2nd, 2018. Welcome to the show. I hope you guys are having a wonderful week. We had ourselves one hee-haw heck of a week for WWE. We've had Raw, which was, another piss-poor show with them making a mockery out of the WWE'S gauntlet match from February, where we had the excellent showing of Seth Rollins. To just have this women's one was unnecessary as can be, but it happened. But anyway, then we also had SmackDown Live, which was decent, as it has been decent. I mean, it looks like Road Dogg, which apparently he's been moved over to Raw for a producer role, so you see why Raw's going downhill. Raw's going downhill. It's kind of funny because shit follows shit. And Road Dogg being shit, he is going to Raw, so Raw's become more shit. Whereas SmackDown has actually seen quality increase. Not 110%, but it's still better than what it was last year and when we had Jinder Mahal on here, going all the way up until WrestleMania. So in the end, WWE SmackDown got great both in the creative and in the performers. We have a bunch of good shows there, even though the tag team divisions on both of these shows are dead. Who are the tag team champions? Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt for Raw. They're doing almost nothing. They're facing jobber after jobber after jobber team, whereas the Bludgeon Brothers haven't even been seen on SmackDown since the Greatest Royal Rumble when they faced the Usos, if I'm correct. When was the last time they wrestled somebody on SmackDown? It's been forever. Monday Night Raw, of course, had what I called should have been 2-hour show, worthy amount of art content, with that third hour with the BT Memorial Day barbecue being on there, unnecessarily happening. There was no reason for that barbecue. Anybody who finds that enjoyable, you've got something wrong with you, because that entire segment right there was absolutely garbage. It was absolutely garbage. Then, of course, we had again the gauntlet match. The only redeeming qualities of Monday Night Raw are Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins. Plain and simple. Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins. And we had no Roman Reigns at all, which was a shocker to a lot of people, because this guy had at WrestleMania, leading into WrestleMania, his entire gimmick thing was, I'm here every time. I'm here every single day. Yes, I know he asked for time off, but it's kind of funny how you're sitting there bashing Brock Lesnar for not coming to work on a weekly basis, but you're out, but you end up disappearing. Then we had the second worst segment, and I forgot to mention this on Monday, but didn't Nia Jax just turn babyface? Didn't Nia Jax just win didn't she just win a feud with the quote-unquote bully of the feud? Wasn't she the one being bullied? Wasn't she the one standing up for being, don't be a bully, be a star? And then she comes out 3 weeks later and starts bashing and being a bully again? Are you kidding me? If you were going to just straight up do that, why even turn her babyface? There was absolutely no reason to turn Nia Jax babyface. One bit. There was no reason for it. Because it's just bad timing. You have this woman who's supposed to be standing up for the little one, standing up for the girl, standing up for the girls who get bullied or get hated on. She is going to be the face of the women's for the children, and you turn a heel already. Did you not see this coming? Because it makes no sense. So you make an Alexa Bliss, who's supposed to be the heel of that entire angle, the babyface. You turn Alexa Bliss, Alexa Bliss, quite honestly, would be a babyface now. Why? Because you sat there and went with we're gonna make her the most dastardly heel, whose sister comes out after WrestleMania and says Nia Jax is the actual bully, and then Nia Jax actually turns out to be the bully. So you just made Alexa Bliss into the smartest person in the fucking locker room, and that's not hard to do. It's just ridiculous that you would do that. And then you have WWE trying to play up the fact that that she's going up against Ronda Rousey, and she's going to break out of the armbar. So, wasn't it a few months ago that this was how the whole bullying angle kicked off? WWE really wants you to forget about this entire bullying angle that happened. So what do? They turn Nia Jax heel, and they want you to forget of how this really started, how these seeds got planted. Nia Jax faced Asuka a couple months ago in February, I think it was, like early February, right? Like it was probably before their match or after their match. Yeah, it was after their match. It was a rematch after Elimination Chamber. She faced Asuka on a Monday Night Raw. Asuka puts her in the armbar because this was back when they wanted her to tease a match between herself and Ronda Rousey. But she put Asuka put her in the armbar. And what did she do? She tapped out and cried. She was tapping out and crying like a little bitch. Plain and simple. She was crying like a little bitch. And now she's supposed to be like, oh, she's not going to be able to do the armbar to me. So, Ronda Rousey, who is a former MMA star who could break her arm off if she wanted to, is not going to be able to lock in the armbar after Asuka made you cry like a little bitch. Get the fuck out of here. Give me a goddamn break. That's just fucking ridiculous. Other than that, there was nothing else on Monday Night Raw this week that was really worth talking about, other than Seth Rollins versus Elias, which has been confirmed for Money in the Bank. They did go back and forth on Twitter, so yeah. We don't have matches being confirmed on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown Live half the time anymore. They're confirmed, and the feuds, you gotta pay attention to these people's Twitter feed because the feuds continue on Twitter. It's not like it was back in the day where you only saw the feuds during Raw and SmackDown. You actually have to look at their Twitter because they keep feuding and they escalate the feud online. But that got pretty much announced. So we have that going on. That was it for Monday Night Raw. We had Nia Jax making us all look stupid. We had Elias versus Seth Rollins being done, and then of course Drew McIntyre looking just impressive as ever. And the Gauntlet match was a big time embarrassment, and the entire 3 hours up until that match, they're like, this is the most exciting match in WWE history. Wasn't really excited. When you have Dana Brooke, Sarah Logan, and Liv Morgan in the fucking match, it's not exciting. The fact that Liv got eliminated like 2 seconds after the bell rang, you had Sarah Logan getting eliminated like quite quick. And Dana Brooke also got eliminated quite quick. It wasn't a good match at all. Then of course we go over to SmackDown Live. What's up with SmackDown Live? Decent show. Ty Dillinger got a good amount of time, even though he wasn't used very often. He hardly usually ever gets used. But how are we gonna get how do we get this entire 10 count thing to work? Ooh, Ty Dillinger's the perfect 10. Then you have your challenger to the WWE champion counting up to 10. Let's have him count to 10 and have him beat down a guy with the perfect 10 gimmick. Guaranteed that was part of their conversation. It's like, how do we get this entire 10 thing to continue on? Ooh, let's use Ty Dillinger. Why are we going to use Ty Dillinger? Because he calls himself the perfect 10. What else is new? WWE and their pettiness. But the match was not bad. It wasn't a squash. I thought it was going to be like an immediate squash match. I honestly thought when that match was announced by Paige on Twitter, another match being announced on Twitter, by the way, that Ty Dillinger was going to go in and get slaughtered by Shinsuke Nakamura. But no, he actually gave him a good fight. He was defiant as ever towards the end of the match. He's like, "Hey, you might be taking me out, but I'm gonna go out down fighting," which was a good thing. Don't want to just see guys like Ty Dillinger go out and get their asses beat and it just be a squash match. Then we had the main event, which it was a sort of bait and switch, which was Samoa Joe versus Big Cass versus Daniel Bryan. It was originally supposed to be last week's supposed to be Big Cass versus Samoa Joe. Big Cass was quote unquote injured. WWE playing us up, or he had a minor injury. They did play it off as if he might have tore his ACL again, which if he would have tore his ACL again would have been very devastating for him. Still could be a possibility down the road because he is a bigger dude and he could have the Kevin Nash route of injuries happen to him over and over, but that's not the point right now. The match ended the same way it should have ended if it would have just been Daniel Bryan versus Samoa Joe, and after the match, of course, Samoa Joe walks away victorious, and Big Cass lays out Daniel Bryan, who just got choked out, which is the way it goes. Had Daniel Bryan tapped out in that match, I would have been pissed, and I believe a lot of people would have been pissed. Him passing out is the better option. Why? Because it just builds to his character. He is a fighter. He is the underdog. He's not going to give up. You're going to have to kill him to stop him from reaching his goals. So it made total sense to have Daniel Bryan go up there, get put in the coquina clutch, and then, of course, pass out instead of tapping out. Daniel Bryan should never tap out to a submission. It should be he either loses his leg if he gets put in like an ankle lock or something, or if he gets put in a chokehold, he passes out. You should never be tapping out. Not with his gimmick, no. But then we get to the best part of the week, and that was NXT. NXT, why was NXT good? Because Ricochet, Velveteen Dream, the Undisputed Era, the War Raiders are a bunch of fun bastards. We have a real bullying angle with Dakota Kai and Shayna Baszler that actually was... The match itself this past Wednesday was getting a little uncomfortable, but in a good way, because Shayna Baszler is a monster bitch who's going to sit there and rip your limbs apart if she has to get her point across that, hey, I'm the NXT Women's Champion. I'm going to make you miserable. I'm going to make you feel like I'm going to make you wish you weren't here. And fun and games are over. This is seriousness from here on out. You got a problem with it, too damn bad. So, yeah, she did that. She pretty much beat the hell out of her. Dakota Kai plays a perfect victim to a Shayna Baszler. This is a real bullying angle, which nobody in the main roster knows how to cut, because we had a bullying angle that turned out to be for nothing, because you had the bullying victim turn bully immediately, which was fucking retarded. But this wasn't about that. This wasn't about the weight. This wasn't double fisting turkey legs or taking a burrito bowl and eating it, scarfing it down because she's a fat girl. No, this was I'm a tough son of a bitch, and I'm gonna break your leg. I'm gonna break your arms, and there's nothing you can do about it. You don't stand a chance. You can fight me all you want. You're just gonna pay, and that's what happened, and it was beautiful. And of course, we had the NXT's Twisted Sister, because she's no longer part of Sanity. Nikki Cross come out, take the title away, grab the title away, not actually win it, but grab the title away from Shayna Baszler. It was like, view me for the title tonight. Dakota, you're the referee. He hits her with the purge, that spinning fisherman suplex. And 1, 2, 3, she pretends to win the women's championship. She parades around with it. Clearly, we're getting a match between those two at NXT TakeOver Chicago. And again, of course, Ricochet. Anybody who doesn't know Ricochet and doesn't believe in Ricochet and criticizes Ricochet, you have no wrestling soul. I'm just going to say it right now. If you don't find Ricochet entertaining, you don't find Ricochet worth anything, you criticize him. His mic skills they're there, they're getting there. He's got time to work on those, but he has everything else. He has ring presence, he has ring presentation, he has a great entrance, he can sit there and wow the crowd. He does everything he needs to do. He is Ricochet, he is the one and only, and this dude If you are not a fan of him by now, then you ain't got a wrestling soul. They gave us a retrospective, of course, on Bianca Belair, which are always nice when they do them right, which NXT seems to do them right. Not having Bobby. This is how you do this. You don't have someone like a Bobby Lashley sit down with Renee Young, come up with some bullshit stories about your fucking sisters, just to build up to a fucking storyline to where you're gonna have 3 men in drag come out, pretend to be your sisters, and make that fucking cringe shit. This is how you do it. If you want to do a whole retrospective on Bobby Lashley, set him down in front of a camera, have him talk. You don't have to have Renee Young there, and be truthful. Talk about your family, talk about where you came from. Don't bring up some stupid-ass bullshit stories about your sister that are probably 100% false. But this was, like, again, NXT again, shows you how to book a show right and do everything right. And then I'm also hearing now that there's like the reason that you don't let the Revival have failed and why Bobby Lashley is still a babyface, not Bobby Lashley, but Bobby Roode is still a babyface, is because Vince McMahon is already soured on him. His reaction against him versus Dolph Ziggler was like his match with Dolph Ziggler last year at, what was it, the SmackDown pay-per-view. Was it Hell in a Cell? Yeah, I think it was no, it wasn't Hell in a Cell. The pay-per-view before that. But his pay-per-view match right after SummerSlam, which I don't remember what it was, against Dolph Ziggler, killed his chances at being anything more than just a mid-card guy. Even though this guy was the cornerstone of NXT for about 7 months, he was the NXT champion from January all the way up until August. This guy, the quintessential heel, who was out down there telling Roddy's wife, "Hey, leave that dude. Come here, and I'll show you what a real man is." Bringing tissues out and fake crying when Roderick Strong was having an emotional moment in NXT. The guy who sat there on his last NXT taping in a match against Roderick Strong called Roderick Strong a failure. This guy who is better, he is a good heel. He could be a good babyface if he's a serious babyface. Not this bullshit that they have him sitting in the middle of the ring celebrating with Braun Strowman before Braun Strowman hits him with a fucking running power slam. Not that Bobby Roode. The Revival, they failed because WWE doesn't care about tag teams anymore. Where are the Authors of Pain men? Because they don't care about tag teams. Sanity hasn't made their debut yet, and they stopped advertising Sanity coming to SmackDown. So what's Eric Young, Alexander Wolf, and Killian Dane? You have nothing for these guys. This group of guys right here who can sit there and wreak havoc. I mean, you have the 3-on-3 faction war right there between them and the New Day, for crying out loud. The New Day could put them over. The New Day could break up because Sanity drives them to chaos. What are they doing? Nothing. I don't get it. I just don't get it. WWE does not care about tag teams, but when we get to NXT, we have the War Raiders, we have the Street Profits, we have TM61, we have the Undisputed Era, we have... That's 4 tag teams right there. We have Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan, who are also being a tag team too. They have matches that matter. Go look back at all the NXT takeovers, and we have a Revival versus DIY, Revival versus American Alpha versus Blake and Murphy versus... I don't think Blake and Murphy was still around yet, were they? We had the Vaude Villains when Simon Gotch was still there. You've had teams that actually seem to matter in NXT. The Undisputed Era are feuding with the Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan for NXT TakeOver Chicago. Why? Because Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan were disrespected by Undisputed Era, and they beat these two in a 6-man tag match. They pinned Roderick Strong, I think it was, and they got themselves a match. And it's going to be a good match. It's probably not going to be the best match out there, but we've had takeover after takeover after takeover after takeover. Even up to every show since NXT Arrival in February of 2014 has been a great show. There has never been a bad NXT special event. Plain and simple. Even when the roster got gutted, and they were down to, I think, Shinsuke Nakamura and Samoa Joe. That was about it. He didn't have much of anything else. They still put on takeover after takeover. You still had the Revival, DIY was coming into their own. You had American Alpha, I think still. Yeah, you had American Alpha. You had all these other guys. It worked so well. The NXT was just so good still. But yet, they always do things right, and then WWE does everything wrong. NXT is where it is the place to be, and why NXT is respected by everybody in the business is because Triple H shows that he cares. Triple H is the man when it comes to this stuff. While he's working his ass off to make the future of WWE better, we have Vince McMahon, a feeble-minded old man who shows on a weekly basis that he does not care about his audience anymore. He does not care about the fans. He does not care about anything but the presidents on his dollar signs. And that's not right. We'll talk about those deals too, and we have a little bit to talk about a certain Hall of Famer who last week decided to start criticizing fans. We'll talk about all that in a minute, but we got to get serious here first. The Saudi government is condemned by a terror group. The Independent reported that Saudi Arabia Prince Mohammed bin Salman has received an ominous warning from the Yemen-based extremist group Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda has notified the prince that his attempt at modernizing the country are sinful projects. Al-Qaeda apparently signaled out the WWE, who visited Saudi Arabia this past April for the Greatest Royal Rumble event, this group stated. Disbelieving wrestlers exposed their privates and on most of them was a sign of the cross in front of a mixed gathering of young Muslim men and women. I hope nothing happens to the Saudi government because this is just terrible. Al-Qaeda is not something not to deal with because they are a terror group, and we could just go from hearing Saudi Arabia just gave us this great show. There's not this great show, but this okay show with WWE. There were no women except for that one little Best of Both Worlds, which we don't have to see that fucking thing anymore, thank gosh. But yeah, this is serious stuff right here. Like Al-Qaeda putting this out there for them. This could be really bad if anything is to happen to them. The exposed their privates, I don't know what they mean by that. Meaning they weren't naked. That makes it sound like they were naked, which they weren't. The signs the cross I could see, like when Sheamus wrestles, he does have crosses, like Celtic crosses on all of his attire, so that could be something. Other than that, and maybe Triple H too, because Triple H has his own like cross type thing. I don't know, but other than that, there really weren't any crosses on anybody else unless you missed something, or they just interpret something just to find something to complain about. But that is something really serious, and I hope nothing really happens to Saudi Arabia. But we'll have to see what happens. Hopefully nothing. I hope this is just something that is a dead issue by tomorrow, and we can just move on. Moving on to Jerry Lawler. Last week on his episode of Dinner with the King, Jerry Lawler took on WWE critics in light of WWE's new SmackDown Live deal. Everybody does not have to complain about the current product. It's not the vast majority either. It's just a small amount of people. Bullshit. First and foremost, Jerry Lawler, you feeble-minded old man, it's fucking bullshit. That is bullshit right there. I'll call you out on it right now, Lawler. You are full of yourself. You are a corporate shill puppet who has to say this shit. A very select few that probably have nothing better to do than live their life on social media, and that is really sad. But for those are the people that complain. If you got nothing better to do with your life, then spend time sitting down and typing something out on your phone and getting on social media to complain about a wrestling show. Man, you really do not get the life. To all those naysayers there, you've got to you've got to eat your words, because whatever they're doing is definitely working. You can't knock success, so there you go. That is bullshit. First and foremost, that is absolute fucking bullshit. We have every fucking right to say anything. We're the fans. This goes to show, and I had some fucking moron come on social media and tell me, well, if I was a fan of Steven Universe and they changed the art style and everything, should I have a right to go on a podcast and complain about it? Yes. Why? Because you're a fan of the show. If you're a fan of something, this is like any sports team. The Philadelphia 76ers, up until this year, have been god fucking awful. They did the whole trust the process thing. So, fans of the Philadelphia 76ers, if they just turn away and stop watching, when the Philadelphia 76ers actually make the playoffs, if those fans come back, what are they called? They're not called real fans. They're called bandwagon fans. My team's the Chicago Bulls, and they're fucking awful right now. I can't stand the goddamn coach. I think the coach and everybody there in the front office should be fired because they're allergic to winning. They don't want to win unless it's their way. Even though they had the best coach in the Chicago Bulls history outside of Phil Jackson on their payroll for about 5 years, and they win the playoffs every single year. Yet, let's fire that guy because him having the best winning percentage for a Bulls team over the last 5 years means absolutely nothing. But when that team just because that team's terrible and they're not winning games, I should stop watching. Because once I stop watching and they leave and they go into obscurity for now, say about 3-4 years from now, they're back in the playoffs. If I'm like, yeah, Bulls, yeah, like, where have you been for the last 4 years? Not watching? Oh, well, then you're just a bandwagon fan. That's the thing. Do I want to be known as a WWE bandwagon fan? No. No one should be. That is the stupidest thing to say to somebody. Oh, well, it's just a select few. It's just funny how they say that. When it's time So what do you say to the fans at Backlash who left during a Roman Reigns Samoa Joe main event that main evented the show outside of the WWE Championship? Those a select group of fans. Everybody was leaving. There were 95%, like a lot of those, like 50% to 60% of the fans were leaving that arena for Backlash before the show was over. And as soon as that bell rang, everybody was up and leaving. There were no people like, oh my god, he won. No, people were turning around and they couldn't leave fast enough. Give me a fucking break, Jerry Lawler. I have every right to sit here and say something. I'm a fan, I'm allowed to complain. Just sitting there saying that fans are not allowed to fucking complain is fucking asinine, retarded, is mental retardation, and needs to fucking, and you need to shut the fuck up. You're telling your fans that we should just sit there and watch the product and enjoy it? Are you fucking kidding me? And they're not, just because they're making money, who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck how much money WWE is going to be making from these TV deals, which we'll talk about later. We will definitely talk about later, but this is fucking bullshit that you want to sit there and say that. WWE making that money is going to make the product worse. I should not be sitting there watching a fucking product and feeling like I'm lost a lot of brain cells. It's fucking retarded how bad WWE is getting. NXT is excluded from this because they are doing things right. 205 Live is now excluded from this because they're starting to do things right. And I have not watched Buddy Murphy vs. Cedric Alexander, even though it was pretty good. But this goes to Raw and SmackDown. SmackDown has got, WWE has got to get better. Fans, what is Fox going to do when WWE in a year, 2 years from now, when they're deep into this timeline of the Fox and USA Network shows, and we come to a SmackDown Live being shown on Fox on a Friday. The show's live, and that arena is empty. There is no fans. You don't hear the roar of the crowd. You don't hear the chants. It's an empty crowd. What are they gonna do? What are you gonna say? Oh, must be a school night. It's June. Must be barbecue season. It's June. Who cares? People are gonna stop. Less and less people are gonna be coming. The shows need to matter. The pay-per-views are not gonna matter anymore because you're making $1 billion at least on both shows over the next 5 fucking years. It's just pathetic. You can't sit there we can sit there and say all we want. Is WWE gonna listen? No. But you don't have any fucking right to tell me what to fucking do, Jerry Lawler. You don't have any fucking right to tell anybody to sit there and say, oh, don't complain. If you don't like the show, you can't knock success. Fuck your goddamn success up the fucking ass. It ain't successful. If it ain't good fucking show, it's not fucking successful. Fuck you, you piece of shit. You're a terrible fucking commentator nowadays. You phone it in. You worthless piece of shit. Go the fuck away. Jerry Lawler, has no fucking right. I guess he has the right to his own opinion, but there's no fucking right to sit there and tell people that we can't say what we want to say. Plain and simple. Again, Jerry Lawler, go fuck yourself, you stupid fucking piece of shit. Cena says a current WWE star is the one. John Cena was at the Orlando Convention MegaCon this past weekend, and a fan asked him about who he would like to face out of Adam Cole, Ricochet, and the Velveteen Dream. Cena picked the Velveteen Dream and made a Star Wars Jedi reference, having sensed that the NXT Youngblood be the one. The video over there. John Cena. Would John Cena rather face Adam Cole Pro? This is a text from John Cena Cruz. Would John Cena rather face Adam Cole, Velveteen Dream, or at Ricochet? He chooses Velveteen Dream, NXT MegaCon Orlando. After numerous ups and downs from his return, such as getting heat from going off script and reporting. Oh, I don't have that on there, but yeah, it'd be great to see that. That's great, and they did talk. WWE's Kathy Kelly in a WWE Now segment did also bring this up. So The Rock is praising Ricochet and Velveteen Dreams being praised by John Cena. So that's two NXT stars right there that are going to be have been getting a lot of praise, and that's nothing but good for them until they get to main roster, and then main roster kills them. Oh, you think John Cena thinks you're great? We're gonna show him how much you're not. Oh, you think you're the big shit? You think you're the one? We're gonna kill your gimmick so you ain't the one anymore. Fuck creative, because they're just so garbage. Creative's so garbage in WWE. This is the best. Like, we're gonna have Velveteen Dream and Ricochet come up, and they're both gonna be like nothing but they're gonna be little fishes and they're gonna be little fishes in a big pond full of sharks, because WWE will not, and they're gonna be sunken too. It's gonna be you throw them in the water, sink or swim, but they're gonna have cinder blocks taped to their fucking ankles so they can't swim. That's how WWE is. You get thrown into the water, sink or swim, but you have concrete boots on your legs, and then you can't swim. Big Cass. There was reports on Big Cass here after numerous up and downs from his return, such as getting heat for going off script and reporting injuring his leg. Big Cass' health seems to be in good condition now, as we saw on Tuesday. According to PW Insider, Big Cass is expected to be on the road, which he is. Cass was pulled for several matches during the European tour, and many rumors began surfacing about Cass getting injured again after he was seen limping in live events. This seemed like very bad news for the 30-year-old, as he had just returned after 8 months after undergoing an ACL surgery, but now, according to the report, whatever potential injury he has does not seem serious anymore, as he will be back on the road as he is. So Big Cass was injured. WWE worked it somewhat, but Big Cass did have a minor injury. It wasn't as serious. You can give it up to WWE for trying to at least give some kind of intrigue to what's going on with Big Cass due to that injury that he did suffer-ish. It is known that Big Cass was not doing really good last week, so it's good to see that Big Cass is not injured. If he would have turned out to be injured for another 8 months, that would have probably been devastating to his career. Because one injury is one thing, but getting that same injury again could be bad. It's just like anyone. It's anytime if you if you tear your ACL once, you're gonna heal it up. It'll take a while to heal up, but if you do it again in that same ACL, like you re-aggravate that injury, it probably may take you another 8 to 9 months to get it back. Just not good. And if you keep injuring, injuries for him. He is the same build of a Kevin Nash. Maybe he's a little bit better in shape, but the legs for a big guy like him, those can go really fast. And he could come back and he can get injured again in no time. Just a wrong step, a wrong move. He went to go do that, turn to go to the side corner to go walk or something, and he tears his leg. It's going to be a really bumpy ride for Big Cass as a WWE performer. But it is always great to see that somebody's not injured. Ring of Honor star signs with the WWE. PW Insider is confirming that ROH star Deonna Purrazzo has signed a contract with WWE. When signing with Ring of Honor, Purrazzo signed a 6-month contract with the company, but decided to opt out. She make her way to World Wrestling Entertainment. She is slated to start this summer which probably means she is going to be part of the Mae Young Classic, which that's great. We don't know anything about anyone going to the Mae Young Classic yet, but she looks like to be one too, as well as Lo Shirai. I can't say her name at all right. The Japanese superstar who was supposed to come over with Kairi Hojo, who is now Kairi Sane. So that could be two potential names for the Mae Young Classic. It could be Deonna Purrazzo and Lo Shirai, or whatever name they give her for the Mae Young Classic. So look out for both of those two, including Toni Storm, who looks like she might be in the Mae Young Classic too. Even if she's just signed for a UK deal, they could still put her in the Mae Young Classic if they wanted to. So that could be three names right there. So Deonna Purrazzo, make sure to pay attention if you know her from Ring of Honor. I've never really seen her, so hopefully we have something good coming out of that. Here comes the news on the WWE's deal with Fox and NBC as well. The Hollywood Reporter today published a couple days ago, article covering how Fox hammered out a 5-year $1 billion deal for WWE SmackDown Live. The article noted that the WWE executive Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, George Burroughs, and Michelle Wilson met with Fox executives, including company's patriarch Rupert Murdoch, on the morning of May 17th. The exclusive negotiation window for the WWE NBC Universal closed the previous day on the 16th, and the word within the entertainment industry at the time was that NBCU was looking to only retain Monday Night Raw on the USA Network at the end of their current deal. One of the biggest quotes from the meeting came from Murdoch, who reportedly said, "NBCU was embarrassed by your product." Fox then added the lure of treating WWE as part of their content package, giving the proposed weekly show promotion across all their broadcasts, including NFL and MLB Sports. Fox also proposed a weekly studio show on FS1, which Renee Young did have a little cheeky tweet about it, saying bringing back SmackDown Talking Smack, which if they were to do a Talking Smack kind of show on FS1, this would be the case of it's run by Fox Sports 1 itself, and WWE, Vince McMahon just couldn't walk into Fox Sports or walk the Talking Smack or whatever they would call it and be like, "No, this is getting over too much. Kill the fun. Kill it, kill it, kill it." No, if it's successful, Fox Sports 1 would be like, it's going to be here for the next 5 years, and there's nothing you can do about it. If both separate deals close as expected starting in October 2019, Fox will broadcast SmackDown for 5 years. The THR will also report that reports that NBCU will continue Raw, paying $265 million per year, according to the source, with the two deals valued at $2.3 billion over 5 years. This is a huge increase over the $130 million WWE is getting on their current deal with NBCU. So yeah, anybody who wants to know why WWE product's going to get worse, $2.35 billion over 5 years. Yeah, they don't have to do anything. They could sit there with their hands on their fucking hips for 3 or 5 hours in a week for Raw and for SmackDown, and they don't have to do a damn thing. SmackDown's going to get worse, and Monday Night Raw is going to get worse. Now, when SmackDown Live goes over to Fox next year, I'm pretty sure that first episode or two is going to be all hands on deck. They're going to give you the best looking show ever and be like, Fox, this is what you paid for. And then after that, it's just going to go straight down the fucking tubes. So if we do have SmackDown getting, the best TV shows we see for the first 2 weeks of the Fox deal, don't expect it to stay that way, because Fox will be like, well, that's great. And then WWE was like, Vince McMahon was like, hey, we fooled him. Kill it. Make it all shit again. Because we don't have to do shit. We're hidden for 5 years. Did you know people actually, after that Bobby Lashley segment, tweeted Fox and told them they should probably cancel that deal? That Bobby Lashley sister segment from last week, that WWE almost, I'm not saying it could have, but Fox was pretty much warned that this is the shit you're going to get and you should probably kill that deal, which I would have laughed my ass off if the news would have came out that Fox is going to cancel the deal because of that shit. Which I hope Fox is like, listen, we'll do this 5-year deal, but that shit stays on NBC. We don't want that on our show. Speaking of the deal, is NXT or 205 Live a part of the main deal of the WWE's new deals? There has been some speculation of NXT or 205 Live possibly coming to Fox or the USA Network with the new TV deals, but it looks like those will stay exclusive to the WWE Network. There have been no negotiations for other WWE TV shows to come from Fox or NBC Universal, according to Dave Meltzer in the latest edition of the Wrestling is Over newsletter. On a related note, the Wrestling is Over newsletter adds that there is no talk of trying to negotiate TV deals to move pay-per-view events from the WWE Network to monthly Sunday TV specials. As noted on Thursday, there are plans for a weekly studio show to air on FS1, but it looks like that will be the only extra programming to come out of the new deals. As noted, Fox's new 5-year deal for SmackDown is worth $1.025 billion, $205 million over the next 5 years, or $205 million per year, while NBC Universal's deal for Raw, the only USA Network, is worth a reported $265 million per year. If the two deals are finalized at the reported terms, they would be worth a combined $407 million per year, at 261% increase from the reported $130 million per year they receive for both shows under the current NBCU deal, which is ridiculous. So, yeah, that is WWE right there. So any good quality shows we could possibly have from here until October is going to be lucky if at best. WWE is going to give us shit product like 2019, October 2019, until 2024. We're going to have shit after shit after shit after shit, and the pay-per-views will mean absolutely nothing. Why? Because they're WWE Network exclusive pay-per-views. They don't make money off of those as much as they used to. When the network started airing the pay-per-views and people went to the network, they don't make the money off the network for pay-per-views as they used to with pay-per-view buys. So they're going to mean absolutely nothing. Whereas Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live is where all the money's going to come. So don't fucking criticize. Don't say I can't criticize things. Don't tell me any other fucking podcasters aren't allowed to criticize anything. When the product is shit, and the product has been shit, I mean SmackDown has gotten a little bit decent over the time. It's growing its decency up. I can criticize it all I fucking want because they're going to give us this shit. We're going to have shit after shit after shit after shit. And they're just going to keep giving us shit because they can. Because they're making $200 and they're making $470 million per year for both shows. You realize that's a $340 million increase over what they're making right now for both shows. It's not $130 million for each show. No, it's $130 million they're making for both shows. $130 million each. I mean together. So going from 130 to 470 million, and they also on top of that have that Saudi Arabia deal going on too. WWE doesn't have to do shit. They could do weekly recap shows of the pay-per-views if they wanted to. They don't have to do anything. They're making the money as it is. So quite honestly, if they wanted to, they could give Brock Lesnar all the money they want, keep him Universal Champion until he beat Bruno Sammartino's record if they really feel like it. We'll have to wait and see, but I guarantee you SmackDown and Raw are going to be shit as can be compared to what they are now, and they're pretty bad as it is. Speaking of the Universal Champion, when could his next title defense be? According to Pro Wrestling Observer, Dave Meltzer is reporting that Brock Lesnar's next Universal title defense is slated for SummerSlam. There's rumors going around that it could be Seth Rollins going up against him, but we're going to leave all of that until we get closer to SummerSlam. But that means Backlash, Money in the Bank, Extreme Rules, 3 months, 4 months. We will not see Brock Lesnar until August. We have not seen him since the end of April. We have not seen him in May. We won't see him this month, and we won't see him next month. That's 4 months until he shows up again. And you wonder why people fucking complain and why Brock Lesnar is Universal Champion. There's also a chance that Lesnar will still leave the UFC if he applies for started testing pool by June 30th. So, yeah, we won't see Brock Lesnar again till SummerSlam. Again, the worst Universal Championship reign. That title is garbage. It looked like shit when they brought it out. It absolutely did. It absolutely looked like shit when they brought it out. But him not defending the title at all until SummerSlam is laughable. The dude should not even be champion. The fact that you have this guy who hasn't been on TV, and people want this guy to be on TV, or at least get the title off of him, and this is what you give us? Brock Lesnar is your Universal Champion. Gee, you must be so proud of yourself, Vince. But again, with these $470 million deals, like overall, they don't have to do anything. Brock Lesnar could be Universal Champion until they die. So he decides, you know what? I don't want to be paid millions of dollars by WWE anymore. I want to just go make UFC money. Until that happens, he can do what he can do. He can say whatever the fuck he wants. Why? Because he's Brock Lesnar, and that's because he can. It's absolutely pathetic. Absolutely. That WWE is going to do this again. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but it's not good. It's not good for WWE. The business. Yes, they're making all the money. They don't even have to buy. They don't even have to sell tickets anymore. It seems like I could be wrong about that, but they could go. I can just see it now. You come to an event, live WWE main event, WWE Raw coming to Poughkeepsie, New York. They turn the show on. The show's getting ready to start. They open the doors, and nobody's there. They open the doors, and the arena's empty. They start the show. The arena's empty. Where's all the fans, man? Where's everybody who wants to watch Monday Night Raw? They're doing other things. They're not coming to Monday Night Raw, but why? Why aren't they coming to Monday Night Raw? Is it because this show sucks? Is it because this show's handcuffed to be... It's supposed to be for kids? It's supposed to be entertainment, but there's not really anything entertaining? Yeah, I watched NXT this week, and the entertainment I got from that was Ricochet and his greatness. The entertainment I seen from this week was the Velveteen Dream coming out, and pretty much these two getting into and issuing a challenge, one or the other, for Chicago, which has been now announced. That's entertainment to me, motherfuckers. Just having when men come out dressed as Bobby Lashley's sisters to make fun of Bobby Lashley, who should have never left Impact Wrestling, because if this is what you're doing with Bobby Lashley, I don't know why he would even have left Impact Wrestling. Getting a little bit more money, is that it? Because honestly, this is them punishing him. Anybody who sits there is like, oh, they're not punishing him. This is fun stuff. No, it's not. This is a clear-cut example of WWE making an example out of somebody because they went somewhere else. They made a living somewhere else for years without you. What do you think is going to happen when if Cody Rhodes comes back to WWE? What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? Vince McMahon is going to be like, well, welcome back, Cody. Your ass is mine again. And now that your ass is mine again, we're going to make you suffer for leaving our company. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Cody Rhodes will be an example made out of him, and anybody who thinks about leaving WWE is going to be reinforced. And that's why I don't think Cody Rhodes will ever come back to WWE, because he knows very well that if he was to come back, it's no longer, he ain't going to be able to do whatever the hell he wants. He'll be forced to be in Stardust for the remainder of his career, which WWE wanted him to be for the remainder of his career. No more Cody. He was supposed to be Stardust for the rest of his life. And Cody didn't want that. What happened? He left. Why did Brock Lesnar lose when he came back to WWE? Real simple. Because WWE needed to make an example out of him. You don't leave us. We are the be-all end-all. They are so full of their goddamn selves that it's you. If you want to leave us, nobody leaves us. Nobody leaves and goes somewhere else. We're going to make an example out of you. We're going to make an example out of you, and we're going to make you pay for you leaving us. And it's fucking pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. It's just pathetic. We do have one more story here that I want to talk about before we go anywhere else. The WWE officials embarrassed, unhappy with Carmella. The Princess of Staten Island became the SmackDown Women's Champion two nights after WrestleMania. She held on to the Money in the Bank briefcase longer than anyone else in WWE history, and she likes to make that a point, like that's some kind of accomplishment. Most people were prepared to see her win the title, but a lot of fans didn't know how long Carmella's reign would last on SmackDown Live. Almost 2 months, Carmella has been featured in quite a few promo segments, but few matches. She has been slowly building to a match with Asuka at Money in the Bank, But some fans want to know why she hasn't been wrestling that many matches on WWE television since winning the championship. According to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it is now being rumored that WWE, and take this with a grain of salt, but it makes so much sense. WWE officials may be unhappy with Carmella's skills inside the ring. Brian Alvarez commented that she's just not good in the ring. That's his opinion, and that's not just his opinion, that's everybody's opinion. But it brings to light some important information. The company feels the same. Unfortunately, that's not a good thing for Carmella's reign. The SmackDown Women's Champion has a lot of charisma, microphone abilities. No, she does not. When she's sitting there screaming like she's in a porn video, like she's being fucked up the ass most of her goddamn matches. Come on! Come on! Give me a fucking break. She makes for a solid heel, however, lacking the in-ring ability could be a huge problem for her in a division with Charlotte, Asuka, and many others in almost a necessary skill. When you have a match against Charlotte Flair, and she can't even get you to anything more than a half-star match, where half the time you're just like, come on! Come on! Are you fucking kidding me? You suck in the ring, your microphone skills suck, you are the legit Enzo Amore of the fucking female in the WWE. Quite honestly, she should have never won money. She should have never won Money in the Bank, even though at the time it looked like the good move because it just fit her character back then. Then what they do, they got her out of her what she used to look like, and then they put her in a fucking onesie, which did not make her look hot. It made her look like fucking trash. She does not fucking talk well. She was on commentary this past week, and anybody who was not embarrassed by Carmella on commentary this past week, I don't know what to fucking tell you, but that was by far the most embarrassing thing I've ever heard from a superstar. She just sat there and was 10 times annoying. Compared to what we had last week when we had Samoa Joe on commentary, when it was Jeff Hardy versus Daniel Bryan, that guy knows how to be a heel. She is not a good heel. I don't care how you want to hide, how much you want to go away from your detractors, Carmella. You suck. You have sucked. You had no business coming up from NXT. When they brought you up as the final draft pick of SmackDown Live, you were the woman that nobody wanted in WWE. She was the last pick of the SmackDown of the original draft from 2016. She was the final pick, and she wants to try and say, "Well, that's my motivation. I'm motivated because of that. Because nobody wanted me here. Nobody thought I was going to be good. Well, you're not." There was a candid interview, or like an interview of Simon Grimm, aka formerly known as Simon Gotch. When he was being talked about, when he was talking about Enzo and why Enzo literally sucks. And it pretty much does pertain to Carmella as well. That you can have all the mic skills in the world, but if you can't back it up in the ring, then you don't have any business being in the ring, something to that effect. But he's right. If you can't wrestle in the ring, then you don't have any right to be in the ring. So, yeah, she should not have been champion. The reason she held the title, held the Money in the Bank briefcase for so damn long is because they didn't know what to do with it. They didn't know what to do with her. They were like, we gave her this thing, and oh shit, she sucks, so why are we having her hold this? But we'll give her the title anyway, just to give her a chance, and by all means, give everyone a chance, because that's just how it works, and they're eating their words. Again, it is just a rumor, but it makes a lot of sense, because how often do you see Carmella wrestle on a weekly basis? And you want to know whose fault? You want to know whose fault it is? Why Carmella sucks in the ring? It's partly her fault, but it's also WWE's fault. You don't book, if you really want somebody to wrestle and get good in the ring, you have to make them work. Having Carmella just come out there and spit bullshit after bullshit after bullshit, but not come out there and do something about it, it doesn't help her. Just having them go out there and hardly wrestle on a weekly basis is fucking stupid. You should have your competitors wrestle all the time, but having her just come out there and be shit after shit after shit. Her and Nia Jax in the draft should have never been brought up. I'm sorry, they should have never been brought up over a Bayley, who still had to wait until after SummerSlam. So after SummerSlam to be brought up. Bayley, who of course has been killed since then, but Bayley at the time was leagues better than a Carmella, or leagues better than a Nia Jax, but you brought them up first. Makes no sense to me. WWE's got a lot to work on. We are getting closer to Money in the Bank. We have 2 weeks to go. In 2 weeks' time, we will have Money in the Bank and TakeOver Chicago, which will be great when they happen. But WWE has got to get their heads out of their asses. We will have, of course, we will have a great takeover as we always do. I know a lot of people are sleeping on Lars Sullivan as a contender to Aleister Black, but the guy's shown that he can do it. He can work well in the ring. There's a reason the guy is going to be getting a championship opportunity. But we have to just sit there and go, well, there's a reason it's happening, and the guy can work. I mean, go watch that ladder match again. Go watch the ladder match between him, Velveteen Dream, EC3, Adam Cole, Ricochet, and Killian Dane, and you can't tell me that he has not earned a shot at the NXT Championship. WWE, again, you might be embarrassed by Carmella, but the main roster embarrasses themselves each and every single week. It's just pathetic how WWE thinks they know what their fans want, but they don't show it. The fans are the lifeblood of WWE until next year. They don't need the fans next year. Why do they need the fans? Why does WWE need the fan support next year? You're making $2 billion a year, over like $2 billion over the next 5 years. Why would WWE even care about our fan support? It's just pathetic how WWE's gotten. They lost their way after the Attitude Era. This goes back to the sports analogies. Like, the Chicago Bulls are terrible. They were in the 90s, the Attitude Era, because they were in the Attitude Era-ish when it came to the Michael Jordan years. They had 6 great years out of those years. After that, they went to mediocrity, where they were nothing. Then they came back up a little bit when they got Tom Thibodeau, and they had that nice group of guys from 2010 till 2012. And then they started spiraling down, and now they suck. WWE had the golden era. Then they went to the new era, which was a down time. Then they went up in the Attitude Era, and then since the Attitude Era, they started they were treading still, but they were going down slowly, and now it's just going completely down. Maybe in a couple years there'll be an upturn, but Vince McMahon's got to go. Vince McMahon's got the XFL. I've seen things from the XFL asking for what rules should be in place, what city should get teams on their Twitter account. It's time for Vince McMahon to let go of the reins of WWE. He needs to go focus on the XFL, so the XFL can go and be as prosperous as it can be, even though I don't think any sports league, secondary sports league for for football, basketball, baseball, or hockey is going to ever survive unless it's a female version. But WWE, again, shows you why they can't do anything right except for in NXT or 205 Live. And who runs 205 Live now? Who runs NXT? Oh, is that Triple H? Yeah, it's Triple H. Maybe he should start taking over. But then the question is, that when Vince McMahon passes on or leaves or gets booted from WWE, if Triple H takes over, who takes over NXT? Shawn Michaels? Maybe. Maybe that's why Shawn Michaels is there. Maybe Shawn Michaels is being groomed to take over NXT from Triple H. And you'll have the X pretty much running the whole damn show. I don't know. Just don't put Stephanie McMahon in charge of anything other than being an ambassador of the company, because she was the one in charge of creative from 2001 until 2014, I believe it was. And those ones, and a lot of that time was shit creative. Who's in charge now? I don't even fucking know. But something needs to change, and something needs to change soon. Vince McMahon has got to go. Triple H needs to take over, and we need to see some good wrestling. Because WWE worth $2 billion? No. WWE Raw worth $1 billion? No. SmackDown Live worth $1 billion? No. The pay-per-views are going to mean shit, and WWE is going to be shit. It's going to be, NXT is going to be the only thing wrestling entertainment fans are going to be able to hang on and be like, that's a good show. That's worth seeing. That doesn't make me feel like an idiot. 205 Live, which of course Dave Meltzer has reported that is not going to be on the main roster anymore. They are their own little bubble. They're their own little brand. They don't have anything to do with Monday Night Raw anymore. So change the little slash on the championship back to purple like it was after the Cruiserweight Classic. Please. And if they're no longer part of the main roster, can we get them off of SmackDown and get them over to Full Sail or something? Because those guys deserve to have a good crowd. Every time I watch 205 Live, it does piss me off just a wee tiny bit that those guys are putting their bodies on the line and you don't hear anything. The crowd is usually dead. It has to be some kind of high spot for these guys to get any type of reaction, and it sucks. Those guys put their bodies, minds, and souls and wrestling ability on the line, and they don't get half the reaction they should be. And it sucks to see it. It really does. It really does. You put any match. I'm hearing great praises for that Buddy Murphy Cedric Alexander match, and I still got to see. Put that match in the main event of Monday Night Raw. Hell, even just put it on Monday Night Raw itself and give it the same amount of time. I guarantee you that crowd's going to go crazy. But putting it on after SmackDown when SmackDown just happened. If you're going to keep it on SmackDown and after SmackDown, I would put it on before SmackDown. 205 Live, 7 o'clock, WWE Network. Why? People can watch it later too if they want to. At least the crowd's not going to be dead. The crowd, the live crowd anyway, even if it is taped. I would rather see a taped, like a replay version of 205 Live that took place before SmackDown than I would after SmackDown. Why? Because the crowd's going to be into it. You'll get that crowd hyped up for SmackDown. That crowd would probably be more alive for SmackDown after seeing a great 205 Live. Give us something good to watch. Give us something good to watch for 205 Live. I've ranted enough here. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at TheFrance. Follow me on twitch.tv/TheFrance08. My name is TheFrance. Follow me. Hit that subscribe button. Comment down below. Hope you guys have a wonderful afternoon, evening, night. And I will see you here back for Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live, NXT, and of course, episode 23 of Unscripted next week. Until then, I'm getting out of here. You guys have a good one, and I will see you guys later.